Each week, Weldon Action goes out from here, Granada's Manchester studios, to an audience of something like 20 million people. Tonight, Weldon Action is going back to see how things have changed for some of the people who managed to inspire a reaction from you, to get some of you at least to say, why doesn't somebody do something?
You move me out.
In January, gypsies.
Where are you going to move me there? Have you got a place that I can pull in my caravan?
In September '67, a family growing up to face the world on 7p each a meal, the Walshes. Mother, father and 10 children, the born losers. In May, the programme that got under most people's skin, old ladies in a mental hospital, the inhabitants of Ward F13. For the old ladies, for the 15,000 gypsies, for the 1,100,000 children like the Walshes, have things really happened, or have we just eased our consciences a little and then said, sorry, nothing doing?
Where can I go? Tell me where I go. Where are you going to put them now? I can't move.
We want you to go away peacefully. We intend to tow you away if you are not going away on your own account.
This was a gypsy eviction a year ago. Like all gypsies, these were being evicted because the local ratepayers didn't like them or their way of life. They were on land to which they had no right, and they were refusing to go. The gypsies said that there was nowhere they could go, that going just meant moving to the next council and the next eviction. This council, like almost every other, didn't care where they went, so long as it was away from their electors.
How can we go to the place? You expect us to move now. If we move now, we're still following all day. Where can we go? You tell us where to go. We can't leave. Just tell us any place that we can put into, and we'll be any good lads.
This eviction cost over £1,000, and it failed to get rid of them. But it was money well spent to the local councillors.
These people are not living the true traditional life that an Englishman or Englishwoman should lead.
It's our life, and we don't say to the people you're living in a hell of a state, why don't you get a caravan, go travelling? We don't say that.
It's been said or suggested that these people are dying to change their mode of life, for education for their children, hygiene, everything else like that. Well, why don't they?
We had 2 houses in Manchester. And my husband had to sell them again because I couldn't get my health in it.
So you find that you're happier
Yeah.
in a caravan?
Yes, don't be sick in a caravan.
Yeah. But even when it's pouring down with rain and stuff outside, do you not sometimes wish that you had a house?
No. We'd wish to have a site where we could stay and send the children to school. That's all we want.
I don't expect sympathy. We're not expecting anything. We're not expecting anything that we're not going to pay for. We're not saying, you give me that, I want it, and I should have it. We're not that kind of people. We don't want that. We want to pay for what we get.
James and Nucknoo Hanrahan have travelled all their lives. As evictions increase, the government have pleaded with councils to stop, to provide sites and give the children a chance to get to school. By last winter, the Hanrahans had been evicted so often that they and about 35 others ended up here on a rubbish dump.
Either they conform to the standards that we should require, or else they go elsewhere.
Go up further north.
Because it was unable to get rid of the gypsies, this council finally gave a site to 6 on condition that all the others left. The Hanrahans went. Some councils now employ full-time gypsy evictors, known as gypsy rangers. By March, the Hanrahans were fed up with being evicted and had bought themselves another house.
You making supper, Granny?
No, I'm not. Your mother is.
Are you putting on potatoes? Yes. Will hang up your coat, Granny?
Please.
Right.
Well, it got impossible. And I mean impossible. Because we were moved from day to day, week to week. We got fed up with it. But it's not the same with a house. The fields are locked up, put away from people that have been used to all our lifetime. And living in a different world, you know what I mean? It's like putting someone in prison.
Mommy, I'm starving. Give me something.
But for to put a traveller into a house and say, stay there, you've got to live there.
What do you say?
He'll go. He might stay maybe 10 years, but he'll still go.
Why don't you want to live in a house?
Well, the problem is, you see, it's not because if the house is not a problem. It's just being living in it. You know what I mean? For the simple reason is that we're not used to it.
I mean, you have young children now. When they grow up, do you think they'll be travelling or what?
Oh, definitely, yes. Yes, I'm sure they will.
In August, a bill to stop the endless battle got through Parliament. The Caravan Sites Act required all county councils to provide sites for all the gypsies in their areas. The bill was passed, but then shelved for lack of money. But bills and parliaments don't mean much to travellers. For them, life seems just as uncertain. To us, they seem just as dirty and dishonest, just as unwilling to live the way we would like. So bill or no bill, it's the same old story. This was 3 weeks ago near London Airport. Again, in August this year, the government asked councils to be tolerant towards gypsies until they'd provided sites. The reaction of a council deputy clerk.
Well, it's very easy for people in Whitehall to send out instructions as to what people should and shouldn't do. The fact is that we have a duty to the ratepayers and to the people who live in the district. The purpose of getting rid of them is because they're trespassing on a residential caravan site, which the council proposes to use for rehabilitating selected local itinerants who wish to settle down and ultimately to go into council housing. But by rehabilitate, I mean to get them accustomed to a settled way of life, to living in a community, to take advantage of the education and particular facilities and the other social services that can be made available, health services and so on, to get them to settle and ultimately to go into housing.
I think it's a very good idea if they can do it. But I can't see them doing it. They want to make somebody else of a person that already is. Well, they can't do that.
This is Seamus Walsh. A year ago, he was suffering from a complaint which seemed to be beyond us and certainly beyond him. He was poor. He and the rest of his family were each growing up on 7p a meal. Since these pictures were taken, there have been hefty increases in family allowances. But how much good has that done to him, his brothers and his sisters? The Walsh family, September 67.
There is Bridget, is 12. William, 11. There's Sarah, is 10. Bernard is 8. Patricia is 7. Sandra is 6. Seamus is 5. There's Tony, that's 2. And Michael, 1. 9.
And there's Ernie. He isn't one of the family, but just comes and sits almost every day. A year ago, the government considered that the 12 Walshes needed a weekly minimum of £21.11 plus their rent, about 36 bob a week each. For 2 years, Bill Walsh worked in a deep freeze and got about half that as a wage. When he was unemployed, he still didn't get the government minimum because they cut the benefit of people like Bill Walsh to goad them back to work.
No, have you got labour in?
Yeah, 11.
No. Come back Friday and it might be a start for you.
Friday?
Yeah.
Ah,
okay.
Right.
For the affluent, it's easy to say that poverty is the Walshers' own fault for being idle and worthless.
Our poverty might be our own fault, but I wouldn't say we're idle or worthless. My last job I was in it for over 2 years, and I had to work from 7 in the morning to 7 at night time, so I don't think that's idleness.
But you're now out of a job, and the state is expected to keep you in order to feed you and the children and pay the rent and so on. Do you think this is fair?
Well, it's just one of those things.
But why should the rest of the taxpayers keep somebody like you and your children?
Well, I don't know.
Not knowing is the real problem. Bill's own childhood was not one designed to overcome ignorance. 30 years ago, he was a child much like his own children. Now, somehow, we expect him to teach them how to do all the things that he and Pat cannot do themselves.
Tony!
The kids are very happy in themselves. I don't think you could look after them as well as if you had, say, 2 or 3 kids. When I think back on my life now, I blame myself for having so many kids. I think we could have a better life, me and my wife, if we had a small family, give more to kids and that.
Why have you never thought of using birth control over all these years?
I've never really bothered, really.
Before we got married, we used to visit the priest. Well, we visited him a couple of times. And he told us that we mustn't try to stop having children, use any method to stop us having children.
By September '67, they had 9. From such a beginning, this boy, Michael, is expected to learn how to earn more money and have fewer children than his parents. Any suggestion that equality of opportunity exists is untrue. The gap between the world of 4 to a bed and the world of decent opportunity seems almost unbridgeable. 1 year later, the same house just before Christmas. Some things haven't changed at all. After the programme, the response to the Walshers was enormous. They were inundated with letters, suggestions, presents, all of which were very kind, none of which has made the slightest difference to the sort of future they can expect. Now, a year later, there's one more Walsh, Josephine, the 10th child.
How many more do you think you're going to have now?
None. Don't you think I've blood enough?
Well, you said that last time you had one since then.
Well, I didn't have one this time. I'd be on the road now. It'd be more than now. If I was before, wouldn't I?
What do you mean?
I went to the clinic. And that's why they don't have me down at St. Thomas's. Because I went again to Catholic religion. Because I was frightened to death of having another one. I'd commit suicide if I was having another.
But she didn't get away with it. A nun came to the Walshers' house and told her that birth control was a sin.
She told the nun, she told Bill as well. Ellen was there that morning when she come. She said I wasn't to do nothing about it. She said it's against your religion. Well, I said St. Thomas's won't feed them. I said they don't give me nothing but to feed my kids. So I said, why should I keep having them? Bill gave up the dole. He went to work down at, what do you call it, Barnes's paper place. He took that job on knowing it was only £10 a week. So I couldn't live up £10 a week. So we had an argument over it. So we had a big row.
You actually stopped him working, didn't you?
I stopped him. Because he was going out at 7 o'clock in the morning. He used to come home at about 7:30 at night. He was slaving his guts out. I wasn't getting no more out of it. He wasn't getting anything out of it.
But don't you think people should work?
Oh, they should work, but not for less. If I was getting more at the door, why work for less? That means the kids will get less.
Just now, they're living off slightly less than 5 shillings a day each. They're better off than a year ago with almost twice as much family allowance, but whether Bill works or not, they still live off less than the minimum the government thinks they need. They were grateful for all the things they got after the last programme. A bit of money, a lot of clothes, holiday offers, food, sweets, bicycles, a scooter, and a toy dog called Joey. And this Christmas, people sent more gifts. In some ways, the Walshes are better off than many. They're fond of each other, and the kids are happy. Bridget, the eldest, is now 13, and soon to go off into the outside world.
Bridget, when you're big, will you live in a house just like this, in the same kind of way, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. Might do.
But do you have any ambitions to have a different kind of house? I mean, would you like to have a much smarter house like this when you're grown up?
Yeah.
Why, what's wrong with this one?
I don't know. Nothing really.
Well, why do you think that you want a smarter one?
Well, I can't answer that one. I don't know.
Are you kind of jealous of people who have smart houses and cars and things?
No.
But don't you have any ambitions about the kind of house that you'd like? I mean, a picture in your mind of the kind of house that you'd like?
No.
What would you like that you can't have, that you can't afford?
Nothing. I asked my mum what I want, and if she says that she can afford it, she'll get it for me.
I hope they have more, have a better chance now than what I had.
What are you doing to help them, to give them that better chance?
Well, what can you do? Only send them to school. Hope for the best.
In May, we came here, to a mental hospital. Like many of our mental hospitals, it was built by the Victorians for their pauper lunatics. Most of it has been updated. The walls have gone, the doors are unlocked. But like many such places, we use part of it as a bin, a refuse dump for some of our old men and women. It's now late December. In May, it looked like this.
Come on, Annie. Up you go.
In May, the medical superintendent of the hospital told us this.
There are two possible reactions, I think, to your visit here. One is that people will become incensed about some of the members of the community having to live under these conditions. The other possible reaction is that people will be so appalled at what they see that they will shut it out of their minds and reject the whole problem as being insoluble and something which they can't face up to.
And that's precisely what happened. We got some letters, the local MP asked a question in Parliament, and it was forgotten. We asked the Regional Hospital Board concerned, Birmingham, if now, 6 months later, we could go back to film the changes. They said no. But we can tell you the differences. Some patients, of course, have died. The chronic sick have been moved out of the ward, and they hope to relieve the overcrowding a little early next spring. Apart from that, there are now tiles here on the day room floor, something they've been planning for a long time. Otherwise, there's no difference.
I did not want chances.
You've got to have some.
I shall not.
You're going to have some.
I shall. I have to go
Come on, darling. This is a good girl. Come on, baby, sir.
No, you won't have No, Mary, I don't like it.
Why not?
But I think it's too much.
Don't you think that some of them may find the conditions there less tolerable than you seem to make them out to be?
Well, I hope I've not made them out to be tolerable. But after all, you know, people can get used to almost anything. And you could get used to living in the annex wards.
You get hardened to it.
Tell me about getting hardened. What do you have to get hardened to?
Well, when you first come, you know, it's a bit of a do to get into bed with a dormitory full of people. You can't rest, but you get hardened to it.
You seem almost resigned to the state of these patients. Do you care about them?
My apparent resignation is a misapprehension on your part. One is not resigned to these conditions, but one has to make the best of them.
Some hospitals have managed to do much better and no longer have annex wards remotely like this. So far, Dr. Spencer has failed to solve the problem himself or to make the Birmingham Hospital Board find the money. On its part, the Birmingham Board consider that these pictures destroyed the morale of a dedicated staff who worked devotedly for precious little thanks. The board also consider it outrageous to show people living in such conditions. To us, it seems that it's the conditions that are outrageous. They're still almost identical to what they were 7 months ago.
Well, this building is now 100 years old and it's been unsuitable for a very long time. Why hasn't it been pulled down before?
Basically because the community isn't sufficiently interested in this matter to see that it is pulled down.
What plans are there for pulling it down in the future?
None as far as I know.
The only way to get things done is to complain, to get angry. The people who are living in this ward can't do that for themselves. But we did have one happy ending this year. In September, we found the 7 Sagoo children. The eldest was 17, the youngest 8. British subjects with British passports. They'd come to this country from Kenya 7 months before and were fending entirely for themselves. Jokinda, the eldest, had come here to be educated, but she ended up sewing boxes to support her brothers and sisters. Like many, she and the 6 other Sagoo children made a dash to get into Britain before the Commonwealth Immigration Act became law. The children made it, their parents had passport problems and got stuck in Kenya. We took their case to the Home Office, which agreed at last to see whether they could give the father an entry voucher.
He was going to come, you know, when his passport would have been ready. But suddenly the law broke out that he couldn't come. So it is not his fault, I think so.
Just before Christmas, World in Action spoke to their father in Nairobi. He had a happy story to tell.
High Commissioner has told me you get passport a week time and 2 months get quota vouchers. 2.5 months I going to join with children.
It seems the Sagoos at least can look forward to a better new year, which is more than can be said for the Gypsies, the Walshers, and the old ladies.
How can somebody else make somebody out of you that you're not?
They can try. They can try and teach
They
you to
can
live
try,
in...
but that's all they can do is try, but they can't do it. And they won't do it.
I don't know, what can you do? Only send them to school. Hope for the best.
This problem isn't peculiar to this hospital in any way at all. As to when the annex will be replaced, I I don't know, nor do I think anybody else knows. We shall just go on and on as we are at present.